Podcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another CW webinar. I'm Prashant, and me and my team are here to bring you the main highlights of the third quarter 2020 trade prices report. So for today's presentation, I would like to introduce myself, Prashant Singh. I'm the Associate Director at CW Group, based out of Mumbai, India. And I will have alongside me Juliana Vieira, the lead analyst for this report, based out of our Porto, Portugal office. So what's on the agenda? The agenda, we will start off with a brief introduction to our company, about who we are and what we do and what we have to offer. And then we will move into the main highlights of this report. So without much further ado, let me sort of give a brief description about our company. I apologize for those who have heard this before. I will try to keep it brief. So CW Group is present across three distinct verticals. We have the advisory space, the research space, and the media space. Within advisory, we work with major global consultancies and leading institutions, including the World Bank, the IFC, and sovereign wealth funds on a variety of projects. We provide both consulting and advisory expertise on a diverse product portfolio. In these challenging times, we have helped some industry participants on their decision-making process, which includes a feasibility report in the Horn of Africa, market assessments in South America, as well as market entry strategies for a variety of different products not related to cement within the Middle East. Within the research vertical, we focus on syndicated reports, including areas that cover cement, building materials, coal, petcoke, bulk shipping, as well as paper and pulp. We are well known for our studies on cement, but we also provide detailed industry and country reports as well. Whereas in the within the syndicated reports, we have three major products, which include the volume forecast report, which will be coming out later this month. We have the trade prices report, which we are currently discussing today, and we have the white cement report, among a plethora of others. Within the media umbrella, we provide a subscription offer to access to our vast database of articles. We provide newsletters with focused content on cement, building materials, petcoke, coal, bulk shipping, paper and pulp, with the latest industry news so that you can segregate those topics of interest. And we also hold industry-specific meetings called CW Summits, but because of the pandemic, we are sort of currently not holding any this year. So let me launch with further ado into the trade prices report. And as you see on your screen, what does this report include? This report is updated every quarter and has an annual subscription. It focuses on the cementitious products, all cementitious products, including gray cement, white cement, clinker, and granulated slag. We include trade prices. We have both import and export historical prices and forward outlooks. We have a regional price index, as well as ex-works and retail prices. So to give you a better understanding about the relevance of this report and your confidence as when you buy it, we've included some metrics, including the forecast error, the number of markets we cover, and the percentage of global trade across all the cementitious products that you see on the screen as well. For this update, we have covered more than 40 plus markets in our statistical model, which is updated on a quarterly basis, allows us to keep our forecast error 3 months out to less than 6% across all products. Please find the link below on this slide so that you can go directly to this report should you wish to subscribe. So this is a map that highlights our current reach for this report. Obviously, there are some blind spots in Africa. We make our endeavor every quarter to see how many more countries we can add to this current portfolio, but this is obviously contingent upon access to reliable information from companies as well as national data sources. But we will continue to sort of see how much or how many we can add to either of these different metrics that we track that you see on the legend below. So let me give you a brief macroeconomic update and outlook before we launch into the meat of this report. As you see on your screen, the economic scenario is pretty grim. That I don't have to tell you, you receive notifications of this every day that you sort of turn on the news or read the newspapers. What is more concerning is the fact that just recently the trend of growth in the US economy has sort of slowed down after the impact of the fiscal stimulus that was passed in the first part of the second quarter is running out of steam. And the possibility of a second stimulus is not likely until the new Congress takes place, even though just, I think it was yesterday, the chairman of the Federal Reserve has espoused great concern on the lack of the stimulus. And to paraphrase his words, Congress can make less of a mistake by giving a bigger stimulus rather than a smaller stimulus. And that's just US. India, actually, in the second quarter saw its worst GDP contraction in 30 years at 23.9% in an annualized rate. The government now is actually contemplating to pass a second stimulus package. Basically, its hand has been forced because consumption has not picked up at the desired pace. And is expected to pass one at some point, either later this month or early next month, before the festive season sets up in India. And in Latin America, the region which was having a poor economic performance even prior to this pandemic, sees a much more complicated and challenging scenario. The bright spot unexpectedly has been Brazil, where the IMF has basically just recently upgraded its forecast from a negative 9.1 contraction to a minus 5.8 contraction this in 2020 because of the remarkable resilience that the economy has showed. So there are pluses and there are pros and cons, and market is changing. So on the next slide, a brief precursor onto some of the, because this report contains trade prices report, we felt that it would be an important insight to give you on the Baltic Dry Index, which you see on the slide. And this index has only reached the 2070 level just in the first week of October, actually last week, that it had previously attained in September 2019. The Capesize Index has been supported by a strong rebound in iron ore demand from China after the lockdown has been lifted. However, this year's China's coal imports have seen the lowest rate of growth in the last 3 years. In the first 8 months of this year, they've only imported 220.7 million tons, which is a measly 473,000 tons less or higher than they imported last year. And what this has meant is that this has resulted in less business for the global dry bulk fleet. Between May and August, there was an approximately 26.2 million tons that were shipped less, which corresponds to almost 351 Panamax loads. So while certain sectors are doing well in China, this is being counterbalanced by reduced demand from other sides. So On the next slide, please, let's get into the report. And what you see on your screen now is basically a third quarter, quarter-on-quarter analysis of major regions and how their prices have been doing. What you see is that the Med Basin and Western Europe are expected to show the most significant downturn in the third quarter as that ended on September 30th. In the Med Basin, Tunisia is the culprit, where export prices are expected to decrease by more than 5%. Whereas on the flip side, you see China and Sub-Saharan Africa, which are expected to witness an export price increase. China primarily is because of the tremendous amount of fiscal impetus the government has put at play, both at the national level as well as the provincial level, to boost infrastructure work, to stimulate economic growth. This exceeds almost more than $500 billion worth of projects that have been pushed through this year. In South Africa, the civil construction sector saw an increase in confidence of 11 points in the third quarter, marking a small revival as lockdown measures have been lifted, and we expect this to sort of slowly improve as we go forward. Brazil has been confounding in terms of its growth, despite the widespread spread of the pandemic. In the May to August period, Brazil's cement demand was higher year on year because of sustained growth in construction projects, both at the government level as well as private sector level. And now I would like to sort of pass this presentation on to my colleague Juliana, who will take you through the rest of the slides.
Thank you, Prishan. Welcome again, everybody. Now jumping into on the slide, as we can see, we have this heat map with cement export prices, variation on a yearly basis. So although the huge decline in export prices when compared to the third Q of 2019 in China, the Chinese economy showed positive signs in the second quarter of 2020, showing a GDP growth of 3.2% year on year. But to put this in reference, 2019 was an extremely strong year for Chinese cement demand. So with the lockdowns measures adopted in the beginning of the year, 2020, China is expected to see an increase of more than 3% in the third quarter of 2020 when compared to the last quarter. Now in Russia, cement export prices are estimated to register a yearly decline of almost 6% in the third quarter of the year. The short-term scenario in the country is not positive, as national project deadlines were pushed back from 2024 to 2030, posing a risk to the health of the construction sector. Also, on a yearly basis, we have Kazakhstan export prices expected to increase during the third quarter of this year. The real sector in the country has shown signs of growth in the first 8 months of this year, and the construction sector witnessed an increase of 6.5% in the January-August period. In the US, during the third quarter of 2020, export price is forecast to increase more than 2% year on year. The American non-residential building starts rose 16% in August, while non-building construction, that includes infrastructure projects, rose by 40% during the month. Now, in order to better understand trade prices dynamics, and before we jump into the trade study, we would like to start by providing some country-level insights when it comes to cement demand. As you can see, looking at the major negative trends, we have Peru, Argentina, and Spain. In Peru, cement consumptions for January to August declined by 30% when compared to the same period last year, and was mostly due to a decline in construction activity caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Where in Argentina, cement demand declined 13.5% year-on-year in July, with construction showing one of the worst performance across all sectors. And Spain is one of the European countries that was most affected by the COVID-19, with the construction sector being heavily hit and collapsing cement demand too. On the other hand, those in the positive side, we can include Saudi Arabia and Brazil. Cement sales in Brazil rise 13.7% year-on-year, was mostly due to the return of the construction activities and self-construction. One recent data indicates that cement sales in September reached almost 5.8 million tons, was an increase of 21.1% year-on-year, and was boosted by the segments of residential construction and minor renovations, according to SNIC. And now looking at Saudi Arabia, sales of cement in August increased more than 37% year-on-year as the construction sector recovers from the pandemic. 16 companies in the country reported higher sales during this month. Now, I would like to provide a context of the global market scenario. I will present a volume analysis of trade in cementitious products in the concluded second quarter of 2020. So globally, gray cement volumes are likely to see a decrease of more than 1% quarter-on-quarter. To start, the Med Basin and Asia Pacific were the regions that reported the biggest export volumes during the quarter, and Turkey remains the largest market for trading gray and white cement, while Vietnam is the main trader for clinker and Japan was the main trader for slag. During the past quarter, Turkey's manufacturer exported gray cement mostly to the US and Israel, and for white cement was US, Israel, and Italy, the main markets importing from Turkey. Now focus on clinker. More than 90% of Vietnam exports were direct to China, and Japan was the biggest slag exporter with a share of almost 40% of the total exports, followed by Malaysia and India. Here, when we talk about FOB average prices during the second quarter, on a quarterly basis, Sub-Saharan Africa was the region with the biggest price drop of more than 7%, reaching around $66 per ton, while Asia Pacific prices increased around 4% quarter-on-quarter. On a yearly basis, CW Index export prices for North America and the Caribbean decreased by around 14%, reaching almost $93 per ton. The region was represented 80% of the global traded volumes during the second quarter of the year. Now, when we look at the third quarter, gray cement prices and clinker are likely to witness an increase when compared to the second quarter of 2020. CW Index price for clinker exports are likely to reach more than $35 per ton, while for white cement, we expect to see a decrease of more than 6% during the third quarter. For slag, CW price index is likely to see a decrease of around 5% quarter-on-quarter. We also provide an overview of gray cement FOB prices change between our estimations for the third Q and our forecast for the fourth Q. While Western Europe and Middle East will likely see a decline, South America, North America, and China are expected to witness the biggest increase of FOB prices, To give you an idea, for North America, we forecast that the price could increase to around $99 per ton, while in the Western Europe, prices are likely to decrease to around $78 per ton. In South America, FOB prices is forecast to increase more than 7% in Brazil in the fourth quarter of this year. And when we look at Asia Pacific and Med Basin, we are expected to witness a stable scenario for the fourth quarter. Now I would like to leave you with the closing remarks of our report. Please note that we focus on the highlights of this update, and for more detailed information, you can find available in our report. Please do not hesitate to contact us. So, as we said at the beginning of our presentation, in the third quarter of 2020, on a yearly basis, export prices show wide regional variations, with China showing a remarkable turnaround. Once again, Turkey remained the largest exporter of gray and white cement, while Vietnam is the largest trader of clinker, and Japan for slag. Cement and clinker prices have increased over the last few months on the back of a demand recovery. And overall, the CW price index for gray cement is expected to increase across key regional markets, including the Americas and China, while the Med Basin remains stable. Of course, all these above expectations are based on sustainable economy growth and no a second lockdown. I would like to thank you all for joining us and see you in our next webinar.